So yeah, as we know, no. The pattern of the atomic habits of the neurotics at the head of the institutional model of mental distress, like they do on psychiatric wards, way back, going way back, the same sort of technique of trying to do your head in, and now, as I've had countless times since 2000. They just crack out chemicals before, during, and after certain scenarios that they set up, and then stuff that they've done. They think, oh, and stuff like that, but it's sort of contained. Uh, for me within that event, and then you really, and afterwards they try to drug you up to various states, hot flushes you wouldn't get, thoughts you wouldn't get, moods you wouldn't get, and so on and so forth. Again, possibly, and I don't know if I said this in the flat earlier, because in the lead up to my probable detention, they have to make the case to their audience that this is, like, not bullshit sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? To make it palatable. Now, the controllable audience, especially the people around here, easy pickings. But my guess is there's a wider audience. And it's also something that strikes me as, not only was it the same type, similar drug-ins, a little bit to something that happened a couple of days ago, but the prolongation of the drug-ins was reminiscent of what happened with Turn the Page. Going back to just after the attempt at the Easter holiday massacre. They can then say, oh no, we need to, and so on and so forth. We need to do this. We need to do that. We are a central component of British society and all the rest of it, and drag just about any other institution, organisation, and so on and so forth with it. Looking at media effects tonight, but as with the Water Brigade, as with the knocking that was almost a carbon copy of what was going on over there, it's like it's actually starting to do me good rather than be detrimental. Because despite even the druggings that were carried on after they tried a before, during, and after setup, with some media effects that was sort of a carbon copy. Like I said earlier, it's like watching paint dry, which would have been my reaction had I not been doped up. It's sort of a repetition of what they do, stunts they try to pull on the telly, the stunts they try to pull on psychiatric wards, this type of stuff they've been trying to pull around here for so long. Not least as well the perception. The medium is the message, the institutional model of mental distress, the way they've sort of engineered so that I don't get up early in the morning, so that I'm not physically able to just go for a coffee, despite all the public fucking and that sort of thing. Expect more of this in the days to come, because then they can say, well, look at that, we've got to bring him in now. And it kind of, doesn't it, sort of, yet again, put in perspective notions they had back in 2000 of, did you feed it and stuff like that. It's sort of, it's, to me, at least, at the very least, it points to just how neurotic these people are, and what lengths they're prepared to go to try and sell their wares, which is, to me, they really are starting to look like little more than door-to-door salesmen selling tat. But yeah, again, trying to engineer storylines, uh, narratives around stuff that was dealt with a long time ago. You know, like people like friends and extended family. I've sort of moved on from all that. You know, I did try to make. I've tried to make the point repeatedly. My family essentially has been my mum and my dad. My dad died in '96. My mum died 13 months. 4 days ago. That's it. Everyone else I've moved on from. You know, if you go over my videos, if you want to figure out why, you know, that's just the way it is. You know, and the only really significant relationships I've had, I'd argue, over those 25 years has been with my mum and with newsreaders, for fuck's sake. That's been about it. You know, everyone else is just like, I wouldn't have been on social media. I may well have, I probably would have been watching the news, but the newsreaders are about it. Um, you know, I don't watch the TV anymore. That sort of was good for me. The time I spent on TV, looking at TV, working with TV. But again, the neurotics who run the institutional model of mental distress, you know, again, like, you know, not only the stunts like they tried around Turn the Page with the drug-ins, for example, but also you know, the media effects and bullshit like that. You know, I'm just not interested in. You know, but they've been pushing at various things for quite a while now, in some sort of preparation, almost certainly, I'd have guessed, for an attempt at a denouement, an attempt that again has fallen flat as far as I'm concerned, anyway, and an attempt to sugarcoat with their controllable audience and the audience beyond yet another detention, where yet again, you know, it's you know, where I may yet well be here in a few months' time saying similar things, doing similar things, and then preparing yet again to detain me. And this could go on for years. uh, so yeah, but you know, I have got to, you know, each time these things are happening now. Recent examples over the past few days. The you know, the barley water. And it's interesting I'm not recalling stuff as easily as I would. The barley water brigade, the crow this morning. You know, and we know by now, don't we? And you know, it's been pointed out quite clearly that every time I do something like that, every time I put things in perspective, they'll fucking up. You know, that's what they did continuously over on the TV. You know, they'll always do that. It's part of the, you know, it harks back to a video I did about epilogue juggins and back on the dole. Now they've pulled that stunt, and here I am again. You know, but yeah, it's like another reason why it's a mistake to engage in media, like what they're trying to pull round here with the trees and all that bullshit. You know, to me, it is like watching paint drying. But then they tried to, like they did with the media, give you drug-ins so you think in ways you wouldn't think about the media, and then stop you thinking independently about things you are interested in, so that they can try and control how you think. So you're thinking about things you're not interested in. You know, to me, I've been saying throughout the day, it's mid-May, it's a day in mid-May, or in 2025, which sort of encapsulates where I'm going, which is sort of enjoy my days. You know, I live alone. I enjoy when I'm not doped up. Sometimes when I'm doped up, I enjoy stuff. But, you know, I enjoy, you know, the intention is to enjoy my days, but I'm being doped up because other people, not least the neurotics, the head of the institutional model of mental distress, which are, the medium is the message, I've said, keep pushing this stuff, keep peddling this stuff, keep peddling old stories that they're stuck with. I said before tonight, I said yesterday, I said countless times, the amalgam years are the amalgam years, and yet they still keep trying, because they seem stuck with it, to rehash it. So yet again, this does go back to 2000, where they'd make where they were automatically. It was so instant. It was second nature to them to whitewash the architects. Did you feed it? Helicopters, Muslims. I could argue about all of it. Every time I can win the argument, and I know that. And every time I pretty much do. But nowadays, I don't even bother most times pointing that out. But they've given me the druggings so I talk more, for example. I'm guessing in the lead up yet again to pick up on anything, especially off the back. If I point out things about crows, for example, and the what is it? The Barley Water Brigade. See how they're trying to dope me up, so I can't even bloody remember what I'm saying. The Barley Water Brigade. I'll point at things like that. Chances are we all know they're gonna pull stunts off the back of it. But what else would you do? It is important to point out these people don't let me have independent thinking when, I should be allowed it. I'm doped up all the time. Why? I can't go downtown for a coffee for want of trees all over the place. I'm fucking bored of them. Like the way they go on and the type of dumbed down bullshit that there is around it. But I looked at a video of mine tonight, you're bound to know. I looked at a video of mine tonight, and down the sidebar on YouTube was a load of the type of media effects you get on that, and the type of effects you get around here lately, attempts at effects you get around here, because, they seem to have this mental model like the intercom one, that they're just going to push for. So it's almost certain that I'm going to be detained next week. And it kind of, with me, it's sort of, why would I want anything to do with these people or anyone who's been part of it? That's part of the reason why it's just like, thanks, but no thanks sort of thing. I just ain't interested. And that's about it. You try to say to these people, look, I mean, they even like say things like, take the meds, we don't want to see you back in these places. Sure enough, they'll almost certainly have me back in those places sooner or later, because I'm just not going to go on along with some bullshit romanticised notion of nutters, for want of a better phrase. But they seem to want that or some limited alternative. I'm not interested in either. I keep saying this. But they're so fucking involved with it, these people, where they dope me up all the time. 2 days ago, how many times since I came out of that hospital, where they were off their heads, have they tried these stunts? And how many more times are they going to keep trying it? Of course, they're always going to be doing it. That's what they're stuck with. If they weren't, they wouldn't keep fucking doing it. Anyway, like I said earlier, it's like watching paint dry, really boring. So to counteract that in the public imagination with their controlled audience and the audience beyond, they have to try and concoct a method to make it look like it's anything but watching paint dry. Their chemicals, their subliminal or subconscious stuff that they're pulling in their interests, making it look like it's in my interests, right? paternalistic bullshit, right? And they're going to keep on at it. And next time I get out of the nut house, it'll be the same situation, right? I'm not fucking interested, you know. Knowing what I knew about the architects, uh, you know, and it was their desire for me to be in the nut house. You know, it served a narrative purpose, right, for them. Wasn't my side of the story, but two sides of the story. Now it seems there is two sides of the story still, and that is me and the people behind the institutional model of mental distress. And like I say, the dumbed down audience. I'm not gonna. I'm not a. You know, I'm not part of the institutional model of mental distress, so I don't need to suck up to anyone. But the dumbed down. Here we go again. The dumbed down audience, with a dumbed down depiction of things, uh, taking their lead from these people, these neurotics, who then, because it suits them and their institution, despite the fact that they say, "Oh, it suits him," sort of thing, you know, chop this out almost as second nature now. You know, so I expect to be drugged up every single day, up to and including speaking with people as part of that psychiatric institution and psychological and whatever, and beyond, right? So that process starts again. Despite them saying if I took the pills, I wouldn't have. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, and there was a time during the amalgam, like I said before, where I would have accepted that, but not now. Those are the amalgam years, which I've tried to rehash tonight, which I tried to rehash with Turn the Page, right? And I tried to rehash when I went down Tesco's car park, only to have someone in a wheelchair off his head, shouting his head off, outside a coffee shop while I'm sitting there making a video, having a coffee, right? Like I said, when I was on that ward, psychiatric ward, when one of the trees started coming around me, what was it, a banana or something? Oh, you got a banana? Well, congratulations. And I said to the apparent shrink, "Well, this is exactly what's going to go on in Kiddie." Now I knew that, so and I knew what they're stuck with, right? And then they sort of tested me out, tried to test me out, and when I said sort of how things would go, like I said how things would go on that ward, and that's the way it turned out. Well, when I sort of said how things would go when I got out of there, we got examples even of today. It has got to be one of the biggest jokes ever, like with hush puppies. Yeah, did you feed it? Amazing. And they whitewash those people, and it was fucking automatic. Anything I said about those people, to put them in perspective, it was just shut down straight away. And these are the processes you get now. Around me accurately pointing out about crows, accurately pointing out about what toddlers do when they're walking around, accurately pointing out about, which was sort of an old, well-worn old stunt, about media effects that now I've got to wonder, will they actually have an impact on me again? Because once I dealt with them tonight, they didn't, which was interesting. Like with numbers, like with yeah, no worries, no problem, and all that sort of thing, bit by bit. And maybe this is the thing they don't want, because it sort of conflicts, or appears to conflict with the situation they're in, with getting trees and everything, to the point now where they may well need some type of denouement that I won't have any part of. I'll have to be doped to the hilt to be put into a position where I'm not sort of thinking like myself or acting like myself, sort of thing, which sort of sounds bizarre to me, but anyway. So yeah, and yeah, it's all a bit. Well, that's what you get. But yeah, like I say, the over the course of 25 years, of people who I had a realistic, despite the fact that my mum was pretty much brainwashed, in the interests of, the only people I had a realistic relationship with, I'd say, and this is crazy even saying this apart from my mum, is my mum and newsreaders. That's about it. It's like everyone else. It was bullshit, wasn't it? Uh, but anyway, well, that's the way it's turned out. And that's just the way it's gone. I can accept that. It's no, it's just you just deal with it practically, right? Practically deal with it. This stuff happened ages ago, of me moving on from quite a few people. For example, I would never have gone on social media ever. That's just bizarre to think that I would have done. Like I said, like I watched a video tonight about, 25 years where I came across as a poser. That's not me. Even back at school, I used to take the piss out of the posers. I just wasn't one of them. I'm just not into that. But anyway, that's the way it is. But yeah, so notions of did you feed it? Check the tapes going way back. Check the tapes going way back as well if you've got access to them, of how instantly people would shut down any mention of the architects and me trying to put perspective on it. But like I say, this is what these people do. They concentrate on the individual, the likes of that fat one shaking a pig tits on my doorstep, and a whole heap of others, not least their offspring. How they thought they'd won the jackpot when the powers that be came charging in, which is part of the narrative, wasn't it? A Johnny and Baby type scenario, where he's in the nut house, and so we are. We're what is it? The salvation fantasy or whatever. The salvation fantasy. We are saved. We are, and all that. So he could finally say, "Well, Mrs. is all right." And I could still say, "As your mom." Anyway, but yeah, so we've had a repetition yet again. I've clarified, even though I don't see the need to clarify, that the only people I had a really substantial relationship with over the course of 25 years was my mum and fucking newsreaders, for fuck's sake. That's how crazy it is, but that's the way it is. Now I don't have anything to do with the media. I won't watch TV again. I don't think. It served its purpose. To go back would be a mistake. It would be a repetition of trying to engineer stuff where I would be, if I wasn't drugged up, like I've said before about shenanigans, very easy to deal with. When you're drugged up, when you're doped up, you haven't got that level of self-control, which is sort of, yet again, it does bear saying when they say things like, did you feed it? You see the same sort of elements there of what really goes on. What really went on between 96 and 2000, and beyond, and when they got older, the officials, I call them officials, I don't know what you'd bloody call them, neurotics is a better way of putting it, when they got older, the neurotics, and got them going all over the place, with their jaws dropping every 2 seconds. That's just the way it was, and then I'll get asked, did you feed it, and so on and so forth, while they went running around for 4 years, here, there, and everywhere. Yeah, that's about it. Letting off a bit of steam, I should do. But the good thing is, I think I can actually look at that. So I can actually. It seems crazy now, even saying this, like it did yesterday about saying about yeah. What is it? yeah, no worries, no problem. Like, and so on. And you know, and so on and so forth. Anyway, but the only thing is, you know, when I deal with the environment, as you do, like I said about this kid, this toddler who was out there this morning when they cracked out the Chrome, and then they went, oh. But anyway, when the toddler out there, right, that toddlers tend to be really quiet when they're walking along, making sense of their environment. Uh, you know, you're not given that time and space. And I have to wonder whether these people have got the time and space to really think about it. You know, when you think of media pressures, when you think of political pressures, and so on and so forth, this is a reason to, you know, have a prolonged break. Personally, I wouldn't. I'd rather not have anything to do with them. I'd rather, well, apart from, uh, I can't discuss with them whether, if I weren't being doped up, if there weren't the shenanigans, would I need the chemicals? Right? That's a conversation they're not up to, right? In any sense. But it's something I'd like to know. Now, personally, I think I would be able to. You know, I'm fairly strong-minded. You know, one thing my mum was right about me was I could be determined, really determined about stuff. And you know, so I'd have to guess because there's not, there just wouldn't be the accessibility to anyone to who knows about pharmacological stuff to say, right, in light of everything, the shenanigans, the druggins, not so much like I keep saying, not so much the shenanigans, the druggins, which are really the sticking point in many ways. Would I be able to come off what they call psychiatric pharmacological measures? And I think I would. I really do think I would now. I've got to that stage, or if I haven't got to that stage yet, I'm getting pretty damn close to it. This is why it pisses me off that when I'm at this stage, when I get to this stage where we've had them trying to pull the stunts like they keep pulling with juggins before, during, and afterwards to try and set up a situation around me pointing out and getting things in perspective. They then try to pile in again. As they, you know, as is, you know, I've known that about them for as long as I've known about them. That's what they do. And, you know, me, I'd like to think, well, if I didn't have all that going on, you know, I'm going to keep, obviously, I'm going to, when, you know, when I see stuff, I'm going to point it out. They are then going to do the same process. But yeah, it's like this thing. That's what's going to piss me off. As I seem to be with no worries, no problem type stuff. It seems crazy to say it. With numbers, with various different things. Looking out the window, for example, and saying it's like watching paint dry. You know, it's in the, you know, it's baked into the system. I keep saying tonight, the medium is a message and so on. That they will then run around. The medium is a message. They have concocted all this that sort of says, oh no, come hell or high water, that guy needs this, and this. Like we had with the phone call on the intercom, where you don't have a realistic conversation, you have one that fits a narrative that hasn't really been tested, right? In my opinion. That's the way it'll always be. That is the way it'll always be. It was the way it was. That those were the dynamics, essentially. I mean, they can argue a care element now. It's still, what is it? Interesting that I can't remember the word off the top of my head. Paternalism. Yeah. That basically the power dynamics behind it, though, do hark back to that day in 1996 when the photographer took the photo, interpreted the photo, I sussed it, It was bullshit. I actually pointed out years later it was bullshit. How it was bullshit. Now you could tie it all together, but they went with it. That's just the way it is. But now, 25 years, I can encapsulate that. But they want some sort of narrative, it seems. And when I'm sort of getting on top of various things and pointing out and including, for example, the Barley Water Brigade, for them to run around and, it does seem like they're over eager to feed it, sort of thing. Let's put it that way, and come charging in no matter what. That's just what they do. They'll if it's like 96, they'll just concoct a perception of someone with a dumbed down argument, with a dumbed down audience, trying to take it to a wider audience that may not completely buy it. I don't know. That's the way it'll always be. Now, you tell me. Anyway, I better wrap this up because this is half an hour. And it is, what's the magic number? 10:37. They did actually make there's a picture of my mum dressed in red. I've never really been that much for the picture, because she never used to like me taking a photograph. But maybe there was, some bullshit about that. I disregarded it, but they do have their ways of trying to impose themselves on your life, it seems to me, as we've seen tonight, as we've seen countless times, from my perspective anyway. But anyway, that's about it. So the tale of today has been basically, I'll put things in perspective, in a bit of perspective again. It'd take longer to put a lot of things in perspective, but I'll put things in perspective again. And they don't like it, it seems, or they're just stuck with it. So they got to run around doping me up before, during, and after crazy events they've concocted. Then they can go around saying, "Well, he fed it." Stuff like that. It's just amazing, isn't it? But yeah, so an event they concocted can lead to them giving a dumbed down version of a dumbed down argument to a dumbed down audience that are controllable by them, and try to rope in the rest of an audience, so it looks perfectly rational to detain me yet again. That's my guess. I'm guessing that. I can't think why the attempts at food fights are still going on, if that wasn't going to happen, sort of thing, so that they can then say, look at it, look how he goes on at food fights, or keep that sort of process going. It all sort of feeds the institutional model of mental distress. But anyway, well, that's the way it is, isn't it? This is part of my culture to say things like this. Part of my background. It's the way I am, the way I really am, and it may not fit the romanticised narrative that they wanted, but likewise, I don't think it fits any other limited depiction. One of the things that's impressed me about some of the things I've been reading is that they just said, the one says, don't allow yourself to be boxed into a characterization, sort of thing, and a lazy caricature, if you like. But that sort of shit went on from 96 to 2000. I can sort of deal with that if that happens. But it just would be nice not to be drugged up and not to be coerced into a nut house, because there's a bunch of people out there with the power to dope me up, sort of thing. But anyway, I'll see you tomorrow.